All right, everybody. So we have the microphone set up. I think we've completed our test to where it actually works now. So we're going to talk about today's stock market craziness and Bitcoin also plunging. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Losing a lot of money on paper. Don't know what's going on. Let's talk about it because we're just a community of people. Right? The whole economy is just a bunch of people. What's going on here, folks? Did you guys misinterpret the Bitcoin reserve as being anything other than incredible? What is going on here? Hey, everybody, welcome. We're just waiting for the numbers to go up, at least around 100 people. So please share away, give this a thumbs up, and share away. And we'll get started in a couple minutes. We're talking about today's stock market plunge and Bitcoin and other cryptos also plunging. I should have held on to my short. I would be up a fortune right now. I should have held on to my short, folks. But I'm not going to be like that guy, Dave Portney. If you guys follow him, Dave Portney is like a child, a small child or a baby in a 40-year-old man's body. Because whenever the market turns against him, uh, he does a live stream and complains about how he missed the top on Bitcoin or missed the bottom or whatever. Takes it very personally when he gets on the wrong side of a trade. Yeah, and he's like a baby occupying a 40-year-old man's body. I'm not like that. When I lose fair and square, it just teaches me something new. I don't take things super personally when it comes to money. But with that said, I would have been up 14% today, or almost 14% on my short, which I closed out of to buy more Bitcoin because I'm apparently a low IQ individual, apparently very low IQ. But feel free to utilize the chat box and just be aware those chat messages they'll be featured in the archived version that people watch tonight. The folks watch tonight. Sorry, my voice is doing the RFK Jr. thing. Tonight, archives. No, it'll be on tonight. So just be aware, whatever you post, it'll be tied to your username. And we do that so that you have a voice. So that when people watch this, they don't just feel like I'm talking to myself, or inventing questions. So people can actually be like, oh, that's the person who said that. Again, we don't understand why Bitcoin is plunging. We don't really know why the market itself is plunging because how ungrateful people are that Nvidia beat results, right? It's like the graphics card, AI card market already seems so overheated. And yet Nvidia beat their results or they beat estimates. And the market was just like, oh, that's nice. Did nothing. And now all this hysteria over the tariffs. The tariff stuff is hitting everything, but it shouldn't be hitting Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a string of numbers and letters on the internet. It's not affected by tariffs, as far as I can tell. It's a currency, right? Currencies are not impacted by tariffs. So a very illogical kind of movement in the market, in my opinion. And the market is never wrong. Again, I'm not a little baby like Dave Portney. I'm not sitting here crying that I could have made more money today. In fact, didn't make any money at all. Lost money. I'm not sitting here crying about that or like asking for public sympathy. It's more just like, what is going on, folks? Where is this outflow coming from? Right? Because again, it seems like Trump is at least talking up the economy. And it seems like he at least has a plan, even if it's flawed. I guess time will tell. He at least has a plan, whereas Biden was like, it was like some ghost ship running without a captain, just running through the fog. And so it seems like the market should consider Trump's guidance an improvement, having some guardrails, an improvement, having an SEC that is now no longer treating crypto as witchcraft, and no longer shutting it down every place it emerges. These are all incredibly bullish things, you would think. So something's going on that I'm not picking up on. Because again, I was in the genius play. I was triple short on the chips, on semiconductors. It was triple short, and I closed it out to buy more bit, thinking this strategic reserve is incredible. And it's like nobody else has actually read the order on the White House website or something. Like let's read this. This is how significant this is. So he published on March 6th, it's on whitehouse.gov. He published, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered Bitcoin is the original cryptocurrency. The Bitcoin protocol permanently caps the total supply of Bitcoin at 21 million coins and has never been hacked. As a result of its scarcity and security, Bitcoin is often referred to as digital gold. So you're reading this on the White House website, not on like CNET or PC Magazine or something. White House website, part of an executive order in which he's commanding the US government to take its significant amount of Bitcoin, as he describes it, and to implement it by adding it to this long-term strategic Bitcoin reserve. Absolutely incredible. And then he goes into the details of how it's going to be allocated, but absolutely incredible. When people are not taking note of this, like this is the most significant update to Bitcoin's status ever. The biggest risk to Bitcoin was political risk, right? That you would have somebody in the White House who would say, "Nope, we don't want any more of this," and would outlaw it, would sign a bill proposed by Congress to outlaw it. That was the worst case scenario, and it was always possible. And now that's completely off the table. And in fact, the government has expressed its desire to hoard it, to hold it long term as part of a strategic reserve. And for some reason, the market's not going crazy. And you had Brian Armstrong, the Coinbase guy, and Vlad from Robinhood, and the Winklevoss twins, and Michael Saylor, the great Michael Saylor. You had all these people sitting next to the president for this crypto summit, and that not only doesn't move the market, but it causes people to sell and run away. There's something I'm not picking up on here. And like the possibility of peace with Russia is causing people to dump out American stocks. I'm not fully picturing what's going on, so I welcome people's theories. And again, I'm not complaining. This isn't a Dave Portnoy cry fest where that guy loses on Bitcoin and then has to tell the whole world. It's like the only person who hasn't made money from Bitcoin. It's incredible. It's like he's like the 40-year-old virgin, but when it comes to crypto. So for some reason, he's the only person who's supposedly been around for years, right? Has supposedly been in crypto for years, but has never seen a profit. How does that work? Is he just selling at all the wrong moments? Literally, how does that work? But no, we're not doing that. Instead, I'm trying to like crowdsource this. We're definitely trying to crowdsource this one. So the smart people in the chat box. Why is the market dumping? I'm getting notifications on my phone about market dumpage right now. Jesus. One of the Bitcoin ETFs down more than 10%. What's going on? Let me know, folks. What are you scared of? Let's talk through it. What are you scared of? And somebody says it's risk off time, but a risk off from what? A risk off from now the White House has directed the U.S. government to hoard it. That's one of the most positive developments ever. Before this, they would randomly auction it off. They have a huge amount of Bitcoin from various seizures over the years, and they would announce an auction whenever it starts to move up. Total scam, right? They would announce a massive semi-public auction of some of their stockpile of coins uh, right whenever it starts to rip. There have been plenty of conspiracy theories about, are they doing this intentionally or are they just dumb? Are they just trying to hurt their own investments or are they doing this intentionally to slow down the market? And now we got the opposite. Now we got these coins are going to be frozen. They're going to be kept in Uncle Sam's purse forever. How is that a bad thing? How are people panicking? I mean, I really don't get it. That is some fiat currency behind me. It's some fiat. Yep. And I always tell people there will be a day when people will look at that and be like, What is that? Those are dollars? What?" Like, because people will be so not used to seeing old fiat. It's coming. That day is coming. I was in St. Martin earlier this winter, a little Caribbean island, and they take both euros and dollars. They don't have their own currency, or they don't honor their own currency, right? If they have one, they don't make you use it. It's just euros or dollars. And I saw no Bitcoin signs on the island, And it seemed to me like that would be the ideal place where it could naturally, without any real legislation or like active push by anybody. It seems like a place where it could just naturally be seeded and naturally take off because it's like cab drivers would gladly take a payment with the QR code. They all have smartphones. They all have Google Maps and stuff. They would all gladly take a little payment of Bitcoin at this point. It's well known enough. It's just people aren't offering it to them yet, you know. But they take euros, they take dollars, they're currency agnostic. They take it to their bank and it's deposited. They would totally go for just the phone payment a bit at this point. So hotels could take it, charters, boat charters could take it there, restaurants. Before you know it, you got a whole circular economy and they're no longer reliant on using another country's fiat. How weird is that? How humiliating. They got to use our fiat or the European Union's, the EU. The EU is just a Ponzi scheme. It's not even a country, right? It's just an alliance of central bank vassals, pretty much. How can X and Rumble be down? Oh, is Rumble down too? That's really weird. I knew there was some weirdness today, folks. I called it. I was saying I can't get on X. Everything's weird. This feels like a very weird day. Yeah, bits down by so much. This is craziness. What's going on here, folks? I said I'd be so in the black right now if I had held on to my short. But I guess I'm just not one of those people. That weird little Soros type person who just maximizes for dollars. I guess that's not me. I don't like to short the market most of the time. I think it's bad energy. But also, I just felt like the strategic reserve of Bitcoin was the biggest thing I've ever seen in crypto. To have an American president no longer harassing these people in crypto and linking them to crime, trying to link them reputationally to crime. But instead, he pardoned Ross Ulbricht, right? He pardoned the Silk Road guy. His people have put out letters trying to end Choke Point 2.0, this kind of federal regulatory silent attempt to slow crypto being used by banks. So he put an end to that. He gave this guy Ross his freedom. He was one of the early Bitcoin users, aside from being the webmaster of the Silk Road. He came through for us. He gave us a summit that was not just some half-assed, photo op, but was literally like a Bretton Woods or Manhattan Project meeting of cryptocurrency. It's like it's now finally being taken seriously. And you can see the look on these people's faces, like Brian Armstrong and Michael Saylor. That look of validation, like they're finally where they're supposed to be. They're finally advising the president instead of just being pushed to the side by these idiot Democrats. They finally have their place in the world given how much money they have and frankly how much opportunity might be ahead for this country. So Trump did some kind of timeline edit there. Instead of being the country that avoids crypto and we watch as China gets rich and stuff, we're going to be a part of it. And we got in maybe too late in the sense that this should have been done years ago. But now the US is going to be a part of it. That's very cool. Don't you assume a great risk by shorting? Good question. Yes, you do. You do. So that's part of why I closed my short. I don't like the karma of it, but also you can lose money. So I don't like to be in anything that's not real, right? So it's like if I have a silver coin or if I have some Bitcoin or if I have real estate like a condo or something, that's something real, it's something tangible. You can flip it if your fortunes change, you can find a buyer. With the short stuff, it's like you literally have this like betting contract and it's nothing real. So if I were to fall into a coma tomorrow because I get hit by a truck and I can't trade for 2 weeks till I wake up from the coma, who knows where that short's at in 2 weeks? It becomes a scary thing, right? Whereas I wouldn't be terrified of holding gold for 2 weeks. It does what it does. Same with Bitcoin. It's not going to zero. Whereas these shorts that you really don't know, especially the leverage shorts. So I do them only for a very short amount of time when I'm very confident that I'm right. And here, again, I just don't see the panic that everybody else sees. We finally have an adult in the room again. It's Trump. And it seems like the tariff news, it should be priced into markets by now, right? By now, people should have gotten used to the news. And it seems like some companies are already adapting by saying they're going to move production to the US and manufacturing to the US. So it seems like that long term would actually help American stocks potentially, that you have this more insular economy where all the the supply chain is local, right? It seems like that could actually help long term, and there's this short term shock. But yeah, I don't get it. And again, the crypto thing, it seems like it's far enough away from the traditional economy that after getting this seal of approval from the White House, you would think people would be taking it more seriously. I don't understand what's going on. I really don't. So, all right. So we finally got X access, and I posted a tweet, right? Whatever you say now, I made a post on X, so people should come over here. Is this the right one? Probably not. Shoot, this isn't even the right link. Damn it. All right, let's try this again. Hold on. Yeah, everybody try to post the link to this on X. If you want to tag me, I'll retweet it. All right, the tweet went out. All right, so the numbers should start to go up. I welcome more theories. Welcome more theories in terms of what's going on with the market. Why are people so scared? What are you scared of? You guys scared of the tariffs? I don't see how tariffs really apply to cryptocurrency. I don't see how that impacts crypto. If anything, it seems like it would help crypto because everything else becomes impacted by it. But this is not a physical good, it's a currency. It is a currency. You can't put a tariff on a currency. But yeah, you can lose big on a short, which is why people don't do it more often. It's not a guaranteed thing if the market goes against you. You lose money and you're not even really holding something real. You know, it's not like you have shares in a company, you just have your bet against the market. In the case of these directional leverage shorts anyways of entire sectors, which is how I like to do it when I do. When I do go short, I like to go by the sector rather than just targeting one stock. Because I find something ghoulish about that. I think it's better if you just realize weakness in an industry to temporarily short it. Uh, but no, right now it seems very weird. It's like I see a lot of signs of strength. And again, Nvidia beat estimates. So I look at that as a big data point. And then the other day, who was it? Broadcom, another chip maker, uh, had better than expected stuff come out. And so where is all this fear coming from exactly? You know, I welcome people's theories. I really do. And how does the sound, how does it sound, by the way, with this microphone? Is there any improvement noticeable Because the other one, it sounded like it was popping. Like when I was just using the computer microphone, there was a lot of kind of feedback and popping. So hopefully this sounds pretty good. Here's a headline: MicroStrategy launches $21 billion fundraising for Bitcoin strategy. So Michael Saylor's strategy launching a new $21 billion thing. And that doesn't move the market. I don't understand what's going on here. Mickey says excellent sound, headphones are on. Cool. Yeah, I'm glad this works because this is a great microphone. This is what we use on the podcast. And I'm glad it actually works with the live streaming. Yeah, look at these numbers. Good numbers, not being harassed right now by Google moderators. Because we're not doing anything bad. I'm chilling, talking to the audience, and hopefully we figure out what's going on with the market here. Because the market is always right. If you're wrong, or if you're losing money, you're the one who's wrong. It's not the market that's wrong. And it's very humbling, but obvious, pretty obvious conclusion. So stocks skid and volatility soars as Trump refuses to rule out a recession. But yeah, these chip makers are printing so much money. Nvidia and Broadcom, they're showing such big results that I don't know. I just don't see the weakness. I don't see what people are so scared of. Again, the tariff stuff is not brand new information. And once companies put the whole supply chain local, once it's all stateside, you'd think there might actually be cost savings and quality improvements and stuff. So I'm very confused. Somebody says, this user, the Bible group, says the psychological impact is the same on all markets all the time. Trump is shaking up the status quo and it is impacting everything. It is a general consensus market wide that we've been destabilized. Okay, interesting take. Somebody says for Bitcoin, is this another buy low moment or opportunity due to average market manipulation with the rise expected in due time? Yeah, I don't know if this is an opportunity. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what's happening here. And again, I did not do the right thing because I sold my short prematurely. Would have made a lot of money today, and I used the proceeds from that to buy more Bit because I had confidence that this strategic reserve, now that it's Monday, people are sitting down at their desks and reading the news from Friday and over the weekend, the news that has come in. You would think this strategic reserve would be big news around the world. Again, it's right on whitehouse.gov that Bitcoin is the first crypto and the US intends to hoard it, intends to save it for the long term. It's a big, departure from previous policy. So Kara says the microphone sound is very good. Yeah, excellent. I'm glad this thing is working. Lux says, I don't see the weakness either. The modern world is entirely digital. It makes no sense. There will be no technological rollback. On the contrary. Yeah, like I said, when I was in St. Martin recently, I was thinking, man, this is a country that's ripe for crypto adoption. And the whole Caribbean could take it. Instead of using other people's currencies, the whole Caribbean could wake up and take this pretty soon. Tony says he thinks this is a correction. Always possible. I'm trying to put my phone into silent mode, and the new OS, I hate to sound like an old person. It's made everything needlessly more complicated. Like there should just be a couple of buttons you press or a couple of things you swipe to put it into silent mode or focus mode or whatever. Shouldn't take that many actions. They're making it needlessly more complicated than it used to be. Like just abstraction for abstraction's sake is shitty design. Like the iPhone that you did it, you did good. Like instead of over complicating things, let's try some new products. They're just making it overly complicated. I don't get it. Maybe that's why Warren Buffett sold his Apple, a lot of his Apple stock. Maybe he just saw that too. Maybe the old brain in Warren Buffett. He's like, this is too much. It's a bunch of nonsense. Just to silence your phone, just so it doesn't vibrate when you're talking. Should be one move, right? Do silent mode, done. Not, oh, what is your schedule? Which settings, which preferences? Set your silent schedule, set your focus. No, just like have one button that turns off everything. Wow. Kevin says his US stock portfolio has dropped nearly 30% over the last 2 weeks. Panic mode. Panic mode. Dubby says someone's getting ready to load up. Wouldn't that be wild if Warren Buffett just like opened a huge crypto position with his company's more than $300 billion in cash? Wouldn't that be wild? And now he would have like the grounding to do it. His shareholders, if they complained, he could be like, look, the president is hoarding it. Why shouldn't Berkshire Hathaway? That would be such an awesome like ending to his career. That's the final checkmate, right? If he were to buy up $300 billion of Bitcoin, then he would be the boss, right? He'd even be up above Michael Saylor. He would suddenly own the lion's share. I don't think he's gonna do that. I definitely do not think he's gonna do that. But if I were advising him or if I were his friend, I'd be saying, "Go for it, Warren. You're old anyways, you've been trading for 300 years. Time to go for the big one." That's a good point. I like that, and that makes a lot of sense. Lloyd says, not to mention all those being laid off have to sell some stocks to survive. I think there's an element of that for sure. The laid off federal contractors are just selling their favorite tech stocks, and that might be sending everything down. Machine Storm says, I was watching this channel when I was an ignorant 34-year-old 8 years ago. Wow. So you feel like you're wise now? Those 8 years have given you wisdom in some way? Very strange, though. Very strange day. Now we got X working again. And I don't know. I don't know, folks. Feels like even getting this platform back, it's been very provisional. So I felt like it was a good relationship. Felt like it was a good relationship, but now I don't because they've already flagged some of my best videos and have removed them. And they gave one back today, which is great. And they gave the live stream capability back, which is also great. But it just seems like now there's like negative intent. Like, oh, okay, so you're just like sniping my content. So I'm not thrilled about that. What are some better streaming or video hosting platforms other than YouTube? Rumble, Odyssey, others. I think Rumble is slowly gaining support, but still nowhere as big as YouTube or Twitch. Oh, wow. Someone's saying Elon said X suffered a massive cyber attack. Didn't I say earlier on my last stream? I said something's off today. It feels like it feels like the internet's under some kind of cyber attack. Because half the things I'm trying to use are not working. And I don't take it personally. It Goes beyond the beef I had with YouTube earlier today. It's like there's something wrong with the internet today. Very strange. But yeah, as a call to action, everybody should check out the newsletter. Uh, Make sure you add your email address, as thousands of you have already done. Get in there. Yeah, Odyssey. I looked at Odyssey a while ago, and it just didn't seem like it was very big. I'll take another look at it. I'll take another peek. Here's a headline: Japan advances crypto reforms, tax cuts, and ETF approvals. Another positive headline. Again, I don't understand why things are plunging. Maybe it's federal contractors who are selling their Bitcoin after being laid off. That makes as much sense as anything, right? Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, I don't fully understand today. And I guess I should have gone with my initial instincts and maintained my short, but I didn't. I chickened out, unfortunately. And I don't need donations or anything for sure, but do add your email address. Add your email so you get my future updates. That link should be in the description, or I'll leave it as a comment after this stream ends. Any final questions or thoughts? Feel free to share. Just reading people's stuff. John says the downside of institutional adoption means it is easier to manipulate through derivatives. That's very true. That's good. Good theory. But yeah, X is back down again. Having trouble. Okay, 13 minutes ago, Elon Musk tweeted out there was, still is, a massive cyber attack against X. We get attacked every day, but this was done with a lot of resources. Either a large coordinated group and or a country is involved. Oh wow. And he says tracing dot dot dot. Tracing dot dot dot. Apparently Tesla's store was also attacked. This is an all-out leftoid attack today. First they reported my videos, and the videos came down. And then after some digital advocacy, after a little bit of digital advocacy, we got the videos back, and in fact, got live streaming back. And now X and Tesla having issues, all out leftoid attack. And this is why you folks lost the election. This is literally why you lost the election is you're the party of censorship and deplatforming and canceling people and stealing our money through USAID to spend it on outrageous experiments in other countries. This is literally why you lost. Is you can't just let Tesla sell their cars on the internet. You got to do a denial of service attack. You can't just let us talk to each other on X. You have to bring the whole platform down. This is literally why you lost the election. Take heed. Like, how about a little bit of self awareness? This is literally why you're losing people. And this is why you're losing young voters. This is why young voters are turning, quote, to the right. They're actually just turning away from you because you're literal communists trying to take down big social media networks because people say things that you don't like. Outrageous. Mickey says, great work on the gate, by the way. The Podesta emails were so damning. Haven't seen him around since then. He was very active toward the end of the Biden administration. He was very active. Would not be surprised if his fingers are all over the questionable pardons that Biden auto-penned, that Biden signed by auto-pen. Would not be surprised if his fingers are somewhere close to that. But yeah, one of these days, everybody's going to reread those emails and go, wow. Wow, did I get sidelined needlessly for 8 years when it is what it is. Those are weird emails. Do you think Bitcoin will recover? I don't own Bitcoin, but a couple of the ETFs. I don't know. I can't predict the future. I know as I was just saying earlier, I sold one of my investments, which would have done well today if I'd kept it. Sold one of my investments and bought more bit, and I'm down now on it. But I'm not like Dave Portnoy. I'm not complaining. I fully believe that a strategic reserve announced by the US of Bitcoin, that long term is a very good thing. I don't understand all the skepticism around it when that conference, that summit the other day. It was amazing. It was the Super Bowl we have been waiting for. I could not have asked for more actually. It's part of why I bought more Bitcoin. Is policy wise, I could not be more pleased. Trump could go off and play golf for the next 4 years with Laura Loomer and Jack Posobiec, and I wouldn't care. I'd be happy as a clam. I really would. I mean, this advances our country in such a big way. We're no longer in this weird, oh, you're not using crypto, are you? It's a weird Biden era, fully new administration, fully new policies. It has this nice, fresh, new car smell, and just a tight piece of legislation, very tightly structured, and that he's not even pulling in any new money to do this, which means the next administration is probably not going to undo it. It'll have some legs, hopefully. But in the meantime, he's in until 2028, right? So this gives us plenty of runway in terms of if the US government is going to hoard it for the next few years instead of randomly selling it at the most inopportune moments. That could be big for us, in my opinion. Rebel says, I'm thinking all the USAID money was bolstering the stock market because if you have a bunch of money you stole, you might as well invest it, right? Well, now they're pulling it out. That's also a possibility. Also, always a possibility. The Bible group says Bitcoin's general trajectory is always up. Jose says time to buy more Bitcoin. Time to buy more BTC. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell people if now's a good time or not. I don't give I don't give little predictions like that. But again, I don't see where all the negativity is coming from. This is the most exciting news that Bit has seen really since its creation, to go in 16 years from something that cost pennies each, right? And it was uh, very much controversial, and people were skeptical of it. To go in 16 years from that to White House summit and the White House having a strategic reserve of it is an incredible achievement. And anybody who's held in there for any length of time should be proud of themselves for investing in the most asymmetrical kind of fringe thing out there that actually came in. What else is like that? What else is this crazy and actually came in? Of course, like Google, but Google, by the time it was on the stock market, it was already fully, it had had its private rounds, and it wasn't like a penny stock by any means. It wasn't like a super cheap thing. You could literally buy Bitcoins for pennies. You could send somebody $5 over PayPal and get hundreds of Bitcoins back in the very early days before me. But some of the people I've interviewed were in that era. And what's been more fair? What's been more transformative, right? Like again, Google, by the time you could buy it on E-Trade or something, it was already established. People knew what Google was. Here you could get in years before anybody knew what Bitcoin was and talk to everybody about it and bother people. Over the course of 16 years, it actually took over a massive part of the entire global economy to the point where the White House now has a reserve of it. Incredible, absolutely incredible. And yeah, there are many legends from the early days of Bitcoin, many people who became legends by way of buying a huge amount and then just sitting on it. And just incredible, incredible part of internet history. And everybody wishes to come to it earlier. I think for me, it may have caused life problems, right? I see now how easy it is for people to kind of glob onto you when you have resources, and that people are very transactional to an extent I didn't expect. Very transactional and manipulative. Wow. Machine Storm used to stay up at night, 2010, 2011, listening to Coast AM discussing virtual machines and Bitcoin mining. Yeah, those were the days. Wow. I was listening to Coast back then, but I had Bitcoin was not on my radar. It wasn't until let's see, really 2013 is when I started getting seriously involved with interviewing people in Bitcoin and setting up a wallet and taking tips in Bitcoin and stuff. Someone says one Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin. I'd rather hold that than a melting dollar. Yeah, Coast to Coast was great back then, BC. Those are the good years of Coast to Coast because we didn't actually know how bad the world was, right? We were speculating. We didn't actually know. Now we know, and like stuff's not being done about it, which is frustrating. Yeah, those were good years. I remember I was listening to that show in South Florida. I was there at the time. Listen to Coast, and I went for my evening walks, and actually did an interview with them when I was just like on my cell phone walking around, being interviewed on Coast to Coast, and yeah, those are fun years. BC says you're one of the reasons I got into Bitcoin in 2017. Awesome, that's awesome. Yeah, no, some people have been in this for a while. And again, the strategic reserve is the craziest thing I've seen since getting into it. And I can't believe people are not euphoric. Again, I closed out of my Jedi Sith short of the market that would have made me a fortune today and put it all in a bit. Now wish I hadn't, but it is what it is, right? I'll be right back. You would love to be in your 20s again? Yeah, me too. I'd like to wake up and have it be like early 2017 with the knowledge of everything we know today, you know? I think that would be the life. But yeah, there's no what's the quote? I'm gonna look up the Steve Jobs quote where he says basically not to do what we're doing, where you look back and wish, things were some other way. Well, it's hard to find this quote with half the internet not working right now. Damn. So yeah, he says being fired from Apple was one of the best things that could have happened to him. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. But that's not the quote I'm looking for. The quote is like, you don't look backward and say, gosh, I was fired or I missed out on this opportunity or that opportunity. Instead, you build the future that you want and you start from today. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. So it's like even if you missed the Bitcoin growth to this point, what do you want to get from it today? What do you want to get from it from now till the distant future? Is this, in your opinion, a legitimate alternative to your bank account? If your bank account is paying you 4% a year at most, and you have liquidity, you have access to your money. Well, with Bitcoin, you have access, right? It can be converted into dollars. Usually, the next day, you get the money in your bank account, and of course, you can spend it as Bitcoin. So you got the liquidity that you have with the bank account, but you might make more than 4% per year if it continues to gain in popularity. The value of it can certainly go up more than 4% over the next year. And so you have to do that internal calculus and decide, the 4% is not guaranteed in the case of Bitcoin, but it could do much more than 4%, whereas the bank account is, FDIC insured and all that. So you got to do that internal calculus depending on where you're at in your own personal game in life, right? And decide, is that a future you want to be a part of? When some of the most successful people in the world are investing their time and their money into accumulating that, do you want to accumulate it also? And that's why it remains a voluntary community, even though it's so much bigger now than it was in prior years. It's voluntary. Nobody's forcing you to use it. That's why the comments or people are like, "Isn't this the mark of the beast?" It's like, no, it has judged something by its results. It has not enslaved people. It's actually helped a lot of people out during the pandemic when some people were deplatformed and fired for their views on some medical policies. These people were fired and basically isolated from public life, and they were able to get by because they had Bitcoin. They were still able to buy groceries and stuff, especially up in Canada. Pretty nasty chapter in the West where people's rights were infringed upon, and the people who had some bit had a much easier quality of life during those years than the people who didn't. So to me, that's a tool that's actually helping people, and total opposite of some kind of control system. You know, the only control Bitcoin imposes is control over the record, right? That it maintains that history of balances, which to me is a positive. That's not, control for a bad thing. It's not Orwellian control. It's just it does one thing very good. And if it couldn't do that, it would be worthless. Yeah, the truckers up in Canada, they would have been even more screwed if they didn't have their bit. But instead, maybe years from now, they look back on this and realized it was the best thing that could have ever happened to them, right? Because they wouldn't have gotten any if not for that. And now they have some and they understand it way before most people. Someone says it's a digital Ponzi scheme. How so? How so? I really do see it similar as gold or other commodities. It's driven by its lack of supply in a sense. It's driven by the supply dynamics. And that's not a Ponzi, something that's 16 years old and is still growing in terms of usage. It doesn't require new people to survive. We would like to see more people in it, but it does not require the participation of newcomers in order to maintain, which is, a key facet of a Ponzi scheme. It's not a Ponzi, but it is like a Chinese finger trap of money, right? It's so rare that over time, if it becomes a standard, you really want to make sure you have some before that rarity curve, gets closer and closer to the asymptote. Because most of it's already been mined, is like what I'm saying. It gets to this point where it's just ultra rare, and most of it's been mined. So I think Trump creating this reserve, if in 10 years it's the most valuable asset on the planet, he looks so good in retrospect. If that's what happens, and the U.S. just has money, and we can use that as collateral, similar to the gold reserve that we supposedly have at Fort Knox. Except we could actually prove it to people. We could actually show other countries that we do have this money. Whereas the Fort Knox thing is still a question mark, right? They haven't shown us the results of their audit if they've done it yet. I haven't seen any. Have not seen any details on that. Seems like it's been a memory hold. Jay Z says, "I've not seen you in 8 years." Yeah, today's the first day that we're doing the live streams on here in about 8 years. Done video uploads since January. Today's the first live stream day. So pretty exciting. Definitely cool. All right, so this has been almost an hour, which is a good length to end it and upload to the channel. This is a good one. This is a good hangout. Corky says this is a blast from the past. It is. It's a blast from the past, but also this is the present. This is the present moment, right? Bitcoin reserve in Trump term two, and getting accountability for some of the abuses that many of us experienced in the Biden years. This is the start of us getting accountability for all of that. And it's long overdue, but it is what it is. We're all here. Again, this is the present. This isn't some crazy distant future. I'm not some wash up. I have more resources than I've ever had before. This is like a hobby to me. If this were to go away, it would suck, but this is a hobby. This isn't who I am. So in many ways, life could not be better. These are the good times. And now we just want accountability for the past because we don't want it repeated. We don't want other Americans to go through it. And we want to see the grand finale with Bitcoin. We want that grand finale where it's on every street corner, where the thing behind me, people won't even know what it is. If we're successful enough, my children's generation, when I have kids, they'll say, "What is that? What is that, Dad?" I'll say, "Oh, you don't have to worry about it. Just, something from a nightmare age. You don't have to worry about all that. We have Bit now." Uh, wow, Mike says David is one of the greatest YouTubers. I was. Cheers. I really was. I think the years of not doing this have taken their toll in terms of, I don't think people care about me anymore. Somebody who really doesn't like me said, "You may have money and power now, but you don't have influence." And I was like, okay, it seems like a little contradictory. But no, it's true. You can lose cultural influence and not gain it back. I'm not sure if I'll ever gain back the influence we had years ago. I don't care. I think this is pretty great. I think having the channel back and having a fairly successful podcast is more than good enough. And again, this to me is not everything. This isn't life. These people like Tim Pool and little Ben Shapiro, I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for these little dogs who have to just bark every day. And they're terrified of losing their following because that's where all their money comes from. And that's where all their self-worth comes from. I feel sorry for people like that. I really do. But yeah, this has been an hour now, so I'm going to end this one. Linda says, "Glad you're back." It's good to be back. BC says, "I, for one, am stoked to see you back on here." Yeah, as long as I'm allowed to stay, I'm here by Google's good graces. And I'm happy to do these and to continue to do the podcast over on Substack. I enjoy it. I enjoy sharing my ideas. I still have an active mind. It's like people silenced me. I didn't want to be silenced. I feel like you stop talking when you no longer have anything to say, or when you're senile or something, when you're old and senile and satisfied. That's when you stop talking. And here, this is still a battle very much occurring. We're in the final stages of it, right, with the White House Bitcoin reserve. But it's still a battle against fiat. People are still going to work every week, our fellow brothers and sisters, going to work for fiat. And until that ends, until they're working for Bitcoin, we still have a lot of work to do. Yeah, no, it's great. We're definitely back. We're not being throttled. You can see the numbers are rock solid viewer numbers, and they let my content stay up. People like it. That's all I'm asking for is give me a fair shake because you guys on YouTube have promoted a lot of weirdness over the last 4 years. A lot of pro Biden, pro Podesta weirdness. And all we're asking for is give us a fair shake, give us a shot. And if all you care about is money, hey, we got the money. If all you care about is status, I think that denotes status. Some of my best recordings lately I've done on the jet above 45,000 feet just clears my mind. So, like, who are these elites anymore? Who are these people that YouTube is trying to grovel to by censoring my sacred content, right? Like, let us all hang out and have a great time and celebrate our success because that White House reserve was the craziest thing I've seen ever. I mean, did he come through? He really did. He freed Ross Ulbricht, who was facing two life sentences, back to back life sentences. If Kamala had been reelected, she was not going to help him out. He's already served 11 years. So he was freed by Trump. Trump does the crypto summit, invites all the right people, makes it Bitcoin only for the reserve, doesn't put a bunch of garbage in there, doesn't leave it open to scrutiny by way of weird funding source. Instead, it all comes from existing seized coins. Home run. That's the Trump that we want, is the home run, not the half-assed, photo op like the Epstein files binders. This was a home run, and you can read the whole executive order right on the White House website. Just Google search White House Bitcoin Reserve, and the document will come up. Incredible. This guy came through for us. Again, he can golf with Laura Loomer for the next 4 years and do nothing else. I don't care. He came through. He came through for the people who believed in him. And instead of being in prison right now, he's your president. He's your president. And this is an era of reform. And it doesn't matter if you or I like it. I'm just here to report on it. I don't care. Obviously, I do care because I have some Bitcoin. But beyond that, it's like it's not my presidency. These aren't my choices. I'm just here to be a scribe. I'm not here to tell you that he's doing the right thing or the wrong thing like I would do any better. Who knows? Thank you guys so much.